Battleground Europe World War II Online Intermission Free-for-All and Gameplay. Thought I would show you a little ship identification as well as just some heck of a lot of fun. During intermission, you get to use any and all units that are within the game, whether you have rank for them or not. It doesn't make any difference because intermission is just fun time, free time. So what I did is I just ran my video capture, and you'll see here I speed it up and slow it down and all that kind of stuff, just so people can get an idea what what it's like just to have fun, especially during intermission. Right now we're on the coast of England, and there's a bunch of ships having a big free-for-all attack down there. So I thought I'd show you what it looks like to try to identify some of these ships while playing the game. From the air you can generally tell, because if you approach a ship you're going to see the name tag. But ships themselves, you don't want to get that close. If you're that close, you're going to be dead if it's an enemy. So what you have to do is be able to identify these things looking from the side, hopefully, you get a better view of the ship. The easiest way to see that is coming up in just a second here. I'm flying along, looking at the map, checking to see where I am and where these ships are, so that I can mark things on the map if I can. And here I've slowed the video down quite a bit so I can show you as I come whipping in here and show you how I show some identification marks on these ships. You'll notice off to the left that there's an Axis ship where it's got a black bow, black stern, and what looks like 3 mountains in the middle of the ship. Whereas the British ship that I'm approaching here has a gray tip on the bow, a very small black tip on the stern, black stacks, but more gray in sections, like 1/3 in the back there is all gray, and then the bow sections in the middle of the ship are also gray. So if you're an Axis player and you're trying to identify their ships, then at a great distance, you're not going to be able to see the name tags, obviously, but you can see the type of camouflage. You can determine that that is a British ship. And if you look at a French ship, the entire ship is a gray or almost white light color. So that one is very easy to discern from a great distance. As I go along here, come in, and now you can see the Axis ships. Again, it looks like 3 mountains in the middle, a black tip and a black stern, black bow and a black stern. So those are the easiest ways to determine British and Axis ships from one another, destroyers. And then if you ever see a French ship, you'll never miss it, because it's all gray or a very, very light color from stem to stern with no modeling on it. Here I'm diving in on a British ship that's being hammered, and it appears to be sinking, and as I flew over it did sink. And over here we have a British ship who is full side on to the Axis ships, and he should be firing torpedoes, not just his 5-inch guns. He needs to be firing the torpedoes because they are very difficult to detect unless seen by the air, and the enemy can't avoid them. So if he knew how to work that ship a little bit better, you would have seen torpedo tracks running off from it. Here I slowed the film down because I was going to give you another view of another ship, and I noticed that there was an enemy plane coming towards me. So I broke off my videoing here, and I started firing, and then since I know that there's a drop, I raised my nose up above the enemy plane because the bullets will be dropping in on him, and then I dropped my nose back down as he got closer, and got some tight close hits on him. He got a few hits on me, but not as many as I did on him. And you can see quite a few more ships. We just having a great time. And of course, out on the land areas, everybody's using tanks and anti-tank guns and trucks. And here's a ship coming up. He's in flames. I believe that's an Axis ship that's on fire. And but anyway, there's during intermission, like I said, anything's usable, and you get to collect points, so you can help raise your rank up a little bit by just practicing alone. There's a P-38 trying to get on me, and I pulled so hard on the turn that I blacked out, and I'm sure he's probably doing the same thing too, so he loses sight of me. And so I extended out decided to turn around, come back, and see if I could get some more hits on one or the other there. And I'm also marking on the map where we are so that the other newbies to the game can find where the action is. Now I'm way outside my gun range, so I'm essentially just shooting to try to distract them if I can manage to get a lucky shot, get some hits on them to get them to break off of the friendlies there, but it didn't always work. And then here was a blind shot, just trying to get some hits. I'm actually shooting behind him, even though my reticle is on him, and I got hit by another plane of spit or whatever that was there, and I went into the drink. I thought, oh well, I must show you that too. And I spawned back in at the airfield. Here I'm just trying to get some altitude. I'm in a, let's see, it looks like a G6. And I wanted to point out, you see the little flashes on the ground. Now this is new people spotting into the game, not knowing how to get a plane off the ground, because they think this is an arcade. This is not an arcade. So you got to aim for an open end of the airfield. You got to make sure you have enough space to get to that end of the airfield, and have your speed at approximately 150 kilometers per hour in order to get the plane to start to rise into the sky. So you got to get airflow over the wings and lift, and a lot of people don't realize that. And when you're in the normal game, of course, you end up wasting a lot of supplies, because that supplies is being built by factories. We have actual factories building equipment, and if you are wasting that equipment, then it's gone, and can be gone for days, and it doesn't just automatically come back because you decided, oh, I'm going to use another one. Well, that's one of the things you need to practice these things offline, and there is a practice mode. Just go to your Cornered Rat software, select Practice Offline, and you can go and work with stuff offline. Or even better, you can go to, when you go to spawn into the game, there's a practice server, and you can go onto the practice server, set up a mission, and just fly and get some friends to go fly on both sides, and you can have fun. Now I tend to do most of my stuff is flying, because that's what I love to do. I've flown in real life, and of course I've been flying sims in this game for 16 years. Here, as I was flying along, I said, hey, look, there's a couple of freighters out there, and you don't see them very often, but they're getting to become more and more important for different things, because you can carry up to 300 troops on it. You can also carry up to 4 tanks, or you can carry 4 of any basic unit, or any unit actually. There's a crane. You have to get the ship close enough to the shore to use the crane to lift the equipment up and over and down into the hold. There's a couple spots down in the hold and a couple spots up on the deck by one of the holds. Even though there's 2 holds, only one is used at this time, or modeled at this time. However, they are thinking on making it so that you can use both holds of the ship, so you can carry 8 units. Also, the freighters have 4 anti-aircraft guns, 2 on each end, or 3 on each end of the ship actually. And so there's a lot of flak that is used for flak gun bases as well. While I was videoing those freighters, I noticed there was a hawk that was zipping by, and then he had turned around, saw me, came back, and he was going to try and get me. And so I again fired ahead, slightly above, let the bullets drop in on him, and I guess I hit him pretty hard, because at this point he was barely turning. And then as I came up on him, I'm pretty good at long distance shooting, so I hit some hits on him from a very long distance through the side of his plane, and his pilot was killed. And then right about here, I got hit by flak by one of the destroyers below me. So I decided, oops, I better get out of here. And then you see the flicker in the ground there, or in the water, as he crashes into the ocean just short of the cliffs there. And this, of course, is kind of like a replay of that one video of that one ship that got hit and is sinking. You don't get to see that very often as they're going down, because you're usually too busy doing other things. So I thought I would show it real quick again. It's kind of cool. He's firing. He's going to fight to the very last. So as he's sinking, his decks are awash, yet his guns are still able to fire out. So you can see his last few volleys as he's decks are going under right now. And these destroyers, they have a 3/4 hood around them, and the back half of the hood is wide open. So if you're strafing with cannon rounds from an airplane, or if you're in a smaller ship, one of the fair mills, which is the river boats, you can hit the backside of those turrets and do damage to them. You see a few enemy rounds is skipping on the surface as they come in, and they skip a little bit, and then you see the geysers as they rise up, and then some more enemy rounds going back out towards the Axis ships in the other direction, or British rounds going towards Axis, whatever this. During the intermission, you can play whichever side you want, so you don't have to worry about it. So anyway, I just giving you that view again. It's kind of interesting to watch these 5-inch shells come whistling through, and sometimes they're very close to you too. And you see the sparks and stuff that are going up. That's the spall, or the bits of shrapnel and things that are going off. There's no friendly fire in this, but you can hurt yourself if you're flying a plane. You got cannon rounds and you come in, or even machine gun rounds, and you get really close to something and you're shooting at it. You can actually damage your own plane, or if you're an infantryman, if you're throwing a grenade, you can hurt yourself or kill yourself. So you have to be careful about that. But other than hurting yourself, there is no friendly fire in the game. The only other friendly fire is if you're in a bomber and you bomb a building. Whoever is in that building will die, whether friend or foe. So you have to make sure that there's no friendlies inside the building. And here I made it back to the airfield, took off. I'm sure I've crashed a few dozen times already. During intermission, that happens a lot. But here I got off the airfield, was duking it out with some of the EA. You see the flickers on the ground, that's planes going into the ground, so that's quite a few here and there. And trying to got some hits on that Spit as he came flying through. Right now I'm flying an E1, which is the Tier 0 airplane. It's a very well-handling plane. It doesn't go super fast. It does tend to overheat, so you have to watch your temperatures a little bit. Fly with 3/4 throttle, and especially when you're turn fighting, and use a lot of continuous and econo RPMs on your engine, because what happens when you're flying on econo is your propeller is actually taking bigger bites. They actually twist or rotate and take bigger bites of air, so that when you're flying relatively slow, you can drag the nose of your plane around quicker or easier in tight turns and stuff. You can see that Spit going down in flames. And then you go back to your max RPMs when you want to try to climb, because there's less drag on the propeller when you're doing it at max RPMs. But if you want to accelerate in the dive, right here I just went back into econo, accelerate, and then after I get around here, the hard left rudder, trying to keep my nose up, and then have the engine drag the plane around. And you saw Spit just whacked me a little bit, but I managed to survive. So anyway, at intermission you get to use whatever unit you want to use, and you collect points, so you have to rank yourself up. And because the higher the rank, the better units that you can fly and use. Although, even though I was a brigadier general back 2004, 2005, they changed the ranking a little bit, and so I've maxed out my rank and can no longer go any higher than I am, but I still have fun doing it, especially if I'm using units I haven't used in a long time, because then I actually do get points. Anyway, managed to make it back to the airfield, survived, and that's it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. A little free play during the intermission between campaigns, and this is always fun to do. Thank you very much.